The document I'm looking at right now is a satellite log. Pages of handshake data, automated signals sent between a Boeing 777 and a ground station over the Indian Ocean. Numbers, timestamps, the kind of record nobody reads, unless something has gone catastrophically wrong. One entry is dated March 8, 2014, 8:11 a.m. Malaysian time. That's the last time the aircraft communicated with anything on Earth. Not a distress call, not a final transmission, just a routine electronic ping, the kind a plane sends automatically, the way a heartbeat doesn't ask permission. After that entry, the log is blank. No more pings. No wreckage position. No black box recovered from the sea floor. No explanation that survives scrutiny. 239 people gone. What investigators, governments, and the families of the dead are left with? What I'm left with is this log. These numbers. This silence. I've read this document a dozen times in the last few weeks. The data is dense. The math that led search teams to the southern Indian Ocean is sound. I've had it walked through by people who understand orbital mechanics better than I ever will. The math holds dot. What the math cannot tell me is why. That's the word that keeps me here. Not where. That question has at least a partial answer, however incomplete. Why did a commercial airliner carrying 239 people turn off its transponder, reverse course, and vanish into the largest, deepest, most hostile stretch of ocean on Earth? That question doesn't have an answer. Not yet. Maybe not ever. That's what I can't walk away from. Here's what the record shows. Reconstructed as best I can. March 8, 2014, 12:41 a.m. Malaysian time. Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, a Boeing 777-200ER, lifts off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, bound for Beijing. According to available records, the flight carried 227 passengers and 12 crew members. Standard overnight flight. Nothing in the maintenance logs, nothing in the crew briefings, nothing in the weather reports to suggest what comes next. At 1:19 a.m. Air traffic control in Kuala Lumpur hands the flight off to Ho Chi Minh City Control in Vietnam. The final voice contact is routine. Good night, Malaysian 370. Those words, said in a calm, professional tone. No distress, no hesitation. 2 minutes later at 1:21 a.m., the transponder goes dark. For those who don't know, a transponder tells air traffic control where a plane is, how fast it's moving, and how high it's flying. Turning one off isn't something that happens accidentally. It is a deliberate action. The plane doesn't vanish from all radar immediately. Malaysian military radar continues tracking an unscheduled contact. Turning back across the Malaysian peninsula and heading northwest toward the Strait of Malacca. Then even that trace fades. What happens between 1:21 a.m. and 8:11 a.m., nearly 7 hours, reconstructs almost entirely from satellite data. The aircraft continues to exchange automated handshake signals with a communications satellite. Those signals can't pinpoint the plane with precision, but they can establish distance. From distance and timing, analysts at the satellite company in Marset derived what they called the seventh arc, a curved line in the southern Indian Ocean representing the possible final positions of the aircraft. At 8:11 a.m., that last handshake receives no response. One more partial signal follows, and attempted reconnection. At 8:19 a.m., investigators believe that may have been the plane losing power. Engines stopping. The satellite reaching out and finding nothing. The search that followed was the largest in aviation history. It covered 120,000 square kilometers of the southern Indian Ocean. 3 pieces of debris eventually surfaced. A flaperon, confirmed as being from MH370, washed up on Reunion Island in July 2015. Additional pieces came ashore in Mozambique and South Africa in the years following. Confirmed from the aircraft. The main wreckage has never been found. I couldn't close this file because 239 people disappeared cleanly, not in pieces, not in fragments of recovered data, but completely, and the world decided at some point that was sufficient. It wasn't. When I started working through the investigation documentation, the first thing that struck me wasn't what was in the reports. It was the shape of the uncertainty. How much of what we think we know rests on inference, and how little rests on physical evidence. The debris is real. 3 pieces is not nothing. It places the aircraft in the Indian Ocean and rules out fairly definitively the theories that had it landing somewhere intact, passengers alive. Those pieces are a kind of answer, a grim one, but they cover the question of where the plane went only in the broadest sense. They do not tell us where it went down, and they tell us nothing at all about why it turned. Here's the detail that stopped me. The transponder was disabled 2 minutes after the last voice communication. Not before, not simultaneously. After, someone spoke calmly to air traffic control, said good night, and then 2 minutes later, the transponder went dark. That gap matters. It shouldn't, and yet it does. If a catastrophic mechanical event had occurred, explosion, fire, rapid decompression, you wouldn't expect composure followed by deliberate sequence. You'd expect chaos, alarms, broken transmissions. What the record shows instead is professionalism. Then silence. Then a turn. Documents indicate the official Malaysian investigation, released in 2018, did not determine cause. It documented the turn, the loss of communications, the satellite data, the search. It flagged that the aircraft's direction change was consistent with manual input, someone at the controls making a decision. But it stopped short of naming that decision or the person who made it. Records indicate investigators examined the pilots extensively. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, 53 years old, 29 years with Malaysia Airlines. First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid, 27. Both were scrutinized. Zahari's home flight simulator was recovered and analyzed. Investigators found deleted data, though they also noted simulators are routinely used and cleared. A deleted file is not a confession, but it is a question that never got a clean answer. I went looking for any record of communication between the cockpit and the cabin after 1:19 a.m. I found nothing. No evidence the crew made any announcement. No evidence passengers knew something was wrong, or right, or anything at all. In a 777, the cabin crew would have been going about their routines. Some passengers would have been sleeping. Whatever decision was being made at the front of that aircraft was being made in complete silence. Reports suggest detailed records of cabin interphone activity in the period after departure exist, though specific public documentation on communications in the early morning hours remains limited. At 2:25 a.m. Malaysian military radar lost contact with the aircraft near the northern tip of Sumatra. The plane had flown for over an hour on its new heading. Whoever was at the controls was committed. The midpoint of this investigation changed my working theory. I had been entertaining the mechanical failure hypothesis with some seriousness. There are scenarios, notably one involving oxygen system failure and incapacitation, that fit some of the data. The plane flies on autopilot. The crew and passengers are unconscious or dead. It flies until fuel exhaustion. It's called the ghost flight theory, and the Australian Transport Safety Bureau took it seriously enough to model it. Then I found the detail that unsettled that framework. At 8:11 a.m., the moment of the last satellite handshake, the aircraft appears to have made a turn. The satellite data, analyzed post hoc, suggests the plane may have changed heading in the final period. A ghost flight running on autopilot shouldn't turn. Autopilot holds course until it can't. A turn implies input. It implies something or someone still functional at the controls, 7 hours after the transponder went dark. According to available analyses, this detail remains contested among the analysts who've worked the data. Some dispute the turn inference. Some accept it. The ATSB included it in their modeling without making it definitive. I'm not making it definitive either, but I'm not setting it aside. The evidence reaches its limit here. At the edge of what can be reconstructed from satellite data and drift modeling, we are standing at the edge of the ocean itself, looking out at something that has kept everything we'd need to know somewhere below the surface, in water 3 to 4 kilometers deep, over terrain that some researchers have compared to searching the surface of another planet. The search that ended in January 2017 found nothing. Ocean Infinity's private effort in 2018 found nothing. And then in March 2025, Malaysia signed a new contract, another no-find, no-fee agreement with Ocean Infinity, worth up to $70 million. A new search began December 30th, 2025. They're still looking. I thought I understood the architecture of this disappearance, the basic shape of it. A deliberate act, probably, by someone on board. An aircraft flown south, away from populated areas and search routes, until it couldn't fly anymore. A tragedy with a human decision somewhere near its center, even if we can never identify whose decision it was. And then I went back to the families, not the official statements, the sustained, years-long accounts from people who lost someone on MH370 and kept pushing for answers after the world had largely moved on. What struck me, reading through their documentation, was a recurring complaint. I hadn't waited properly. They kept saying the search was in the wrong place. Independent analysts, some credentialed, some not, all of them working from publicly available satellite data, produced alternative drift models and alternative search zone calculations that didn't overlap with where the official search was conducted. Some placed the final position north of the primary search area. Some placed it considerably north. The families raised this formally, and the response they received consistently was that the official methodology was sound. It may well be. The Inmarsat data analysis was peer-reviewed. The ATSB is credible. I'm not suggesting a cover-up. Evidence for deliberate misdirection is thin to non-existent. What I'm sitting with is the possibility that 120,000 square kilometers was searched with extraordinary effort and extraordinary expense in the right ocean and possibly in the wrong part of it. Because here's what I cannot explain away. 3 pieces of confirmed debris, tracked backward through ocean drift modeling, suggest a crash point that doesn't perfectly align with the primary search zone either. Drift analysis has error bars wide enough to absorb the discrepancy. But the discrepancy exists. If the plane is where some of the alternate models suggest, it hasn't been searched. It's sitting there, now, in water that will preserve the black box's secrets. Indefinitely. And the question that stays with me, the one I cannot answer even now, is this: what if we've been close enough to be looking in the right ocean and far enough away to never find it? I've turned this evidence over from every direction I can reach. Here's where I land, with full acknowledgement of what I cannot prove. The deliberate act hypothesis is most supported by what we know: the transponder sequence, the course reversal, the absence of any distress communication, the apparent sustained flight southward. These are not consistent with sudden catastrophic event. They are consistent with intent. Whether that intent was homicidal, suicidal, a response to something on board, or something else entirely, the evidence does not say. The mechanical failure plus ghost flight hypothesis remains live, but it carries a problem. It requires someone to disable the transponder as an accidental consequence of some other action, and the aircraft then to fly for 7 hours untouched. That's possible. I won't call it impossible. What I flag explicitly as speculation, my own, stated as such, is this: the specificity of the route suggests someone who understood how radar coverage worked. Reports indicate the turn happened at a particular moment, in a particular place, where secondary radar coverage was transitioning between countries. That could be coincidence. It could also be knowledge. I can't prove it, but I can't ignore the geography. The debris is the most honest evidence in this case. 3 pieces, confirmed from the aircraft, distributed by ocean current in a pattern consistent with a crash in the southern Indian Ocean. That's real. That's not inference. It matters because it closes certain doors firmly, even as other doors remain open. What the evidence doesn't show is any sign the search is actually over. Malaysia and Ocean Infinity are back on the water. As of filming, the December 2025 search is ongoing. They have better bathymetric data than any previous effort. They have a financial model that aligns incentives with results. They have a new priority search zone, whether that zone is right, whether the new modeling has corrected for whatever previous efforts missed. I don't know. Nobody does yet. The families of the 239 people on that aircraft have been waiting 12 years for wreckage, for a flight recorder, for something that tells them what those final hours were. They deserve that, not closure. I don't think that word has meaning in a case like this, but an answer, the specific, physical, recoverable answer that is sitting somewhere on the floor of the Indian Ocean right now. That answer exists. And that's the part that is almost unbearable. The wreckage is somewhere. The recorders, if intact, hold the audio from the cockpit, the data from every system, potentially the final 7 hours, preserved in a pressure housing at the bottom of the sea. We just haven't found it yet. I'm back to the satellite log. Same pages, same blank spaces after 8/11. There's a term in the documentation, partial handshake. That's the signal recorded at 8:19 a.m., 8 minutes after the final confirmed ping. The ground station sent its scheduled query. The aircraft system began to respond, and then stopped. The connection failed to complete, a partial handshake. The last thing this aircraft ever said to the world was half a sentence. I don't know what happened to the 239 people on Malaysia Airlines flight MH370. I've read the reports. I've worked through the satellite data. I've sat with the debris records, the drift models, the alternate analyses, the family's letters, the official non-conclusions. And I still don't know. What I know is this. Somewhere in the southern Indian Ocean, deeper than most of us can meaningfully imagine, are answers. Physical answers. Metal and wire and recording media that would tell us definitively what happened in that cockpit between 1:19 a.m. and whatever came after. They are down there right now. As you're watching this, Ocean Infinity's vessels are on the water. The search is live. After 12 years, after 2 major search efforts that came up empty, someone decided the answers were still worth finding and signed a contract to prove it. I want them to find it. I want that more than a resolution to any case I've worked. Not for the story. For the people who have been waiting since March 8, 2014, to know what happened to someone they loved. But until something comes up from that water, until we have the audio, the data, the cockpit voice recorder telling us why a professional crew said good night and then made the plane disappear, we're all sitting with the same thing, a blank log, a partial handshake, an ocean that doesn't give back what it takes. The question I'll carry from this case isn't whether MH370 will be found. I think it will. Eventually, the question is what we'll learn when it surfaces, and whether the answer will be worse than not knowing.